Hi, everybody. Like I say in all my videos, I'm not responsible if anybody gets hurt. It's just my opinion. Today, I'm going to do a tarot reading on Jeffrey Epstein, who was born January 20th, 1953, Brooklyn, New York. He was, I think, an Aquarius, between Aquarius and a Capricorn. And they said he died, they say, quote unquote, he died August 10th, 2019. That would make him 66 when he died, and he was from Brooklyn, New York. And let's see. Let me look. Hold on. Doesn't say he was ever married. I don't think he was ever married. So, nope. Personal life. Let me look real quick. No, he was never married. So I'm gonna do the tarot reading, like I said, on Epstein, and about his life and the files and all the stuff and the so-called death. So, because I don't know if he's really dead or he faked his death or they faked his death. So I'm going to do that. I'm interested in knowing what the cards will tell me about Epstein. Was Epstein a ladies' man when he was younger? Or was he bisexual? First, I'll see, did he have a lot of girlfriends when he was younger? Epstein? Please tell me, Epstein, did you have a lot of girlfriends? Please tell me. Entertainment purposes. Did you have a lot of girlfriends when you were young? It says he was more into work and higher standards. He liked making money. He liked to work. He was not much into women as much as a lot of people are. He had high standards and he liked to work on skills. Like he mostly liked to read and do things, than be interested in girls a lot. So he was more into working and doing things. Maybe he was looked for a job, like delivered the paper or did work making money, after school jobs. And he needed to rest. He wanted to rest because he rested a lot and took it easy. He did and he wanted to retreat. He didn't want to have to work so hard, but he tried to, even though he was much into working and making some money. He also liked to rest and take it easy, and with also rest with the girls, take it easy with the girls. Also, he held it back. He held back what he really felt about toward women and what he felt about girls. So he had, I think he hid things about women and how he felt about them. And he had bad choices when it came to certain women and how he thought about them. So he had also lack of commitment. He didn't have commitments with women. He didn't have a lot of experience with women when he was growing up. He was probably kind of introverted, shy person, and he didn't really want to, he was not a ladies' man. No, he was not much of a ladies' man. He was shy with them. He talked to them, but he was not a ladies' man when he was young. He felt kind of awkward. So no, Jeffrey Epstein was not a ladies' man. Is he? Since he never married, it doesn't mean you're gay or anything. I'm going to ask anyway. $1 million question. I'll ask another different cards. Was Epstein bisexual? That's a good question. Epstein, were you bisexual? Please tell me. Were you bisexual? Which is not, to me, I could care less. But just tell me, Epstein, were you bisexual? Were you interested in girls and boys, men and women, or girls and boys? I'm going to do 4. Please tell me. And I'm going to ask, was he interested in boys and girls? And 1 card. Please tell me. Were you interested in boys and girls? All right, here we go. Yeah, he was interested in boys and girls. He was bisexual, and maybe transformation. He didn't want people when he was younger, and getting older. He didn't want people to know what he was. He wanted to heal himself. He thought he was a freak being bisexual. He thought he was crazy, and he didn't want people to know he was bisexual because he was scared that people would judge him, and he wanted to heal himself. He thought, oh, maybe he can go to a person to fix what he was. But he probably eventually thought he was a lucky person who he is, and he's not going to be too hard on himself. And he had a turning point accepting him for who he was. He said, I'm not going to let people define me. I'm going to accept myself as bisexual, whoever I am. But he celebrated, he had relationship, with men and women, and partied and liked to have a good time drinking and being with men and women. He had good times. He had good times. He was happy with the men and women who he was with. But he did have nightmares and anxiety when he was younger that people would judge him. So it was a mixed blessing and curse. So he did have nightmares about people were judging him when he was at his job because he wasn't sure that people would accept him. And he did feel he was in despair, like people would judge him. So he had mixed emotions. And Moon and Libra fight a balance. So he had to put a balance on his sexuality if people would judge him. He thought people might judge him. So he tried to have a good time with his thing. Now I'm going to ask him, was he big on work? I'm going to look, I don't use these too much, but I'm going to ask with my article cards, was he big workhorse? Because Epstein, was he big on working? Was he a big person who liked, like to work and have, funnest things in life? Was he a big workhorse? Because Capricorns are really into working. Was he into working or was he not? Was he? Please tell me, Jeffrey, were you into working? It's the people skills. You have a flair for working well with others. So he was good with working with other people. You could be a Democrat counselor or head company. Yeah, he tried to be head of a company, tried to work. He was good with working with other people. He thought he was, he was like, he had a good facade. He was very independent too. He liked to do his own thing. It's time to go on your own business, create your business. That's what he did, or something outside the comfort. He wanted to do something outside his comfort, so he probably started his own business. Short term. The position is temporary, so you don't be attached to do it. No worries, you will find something that's even more fulfilling. So he wanted to do something. He was tired of the same job. So he went for he tired of the short. It was a short-term solution, so he wanted to try something different. And cutting ties, you may need to leave your current position. So he was tired of doing the position he would, so he tried to cut ties and say, I want to try something different in his job. He didn't want to stick with the same line. I think he was tired of doing the same thing. He was very popular at his job, and he did a good job, but he got bored quickly. So, he had to change jobs. Sorry. What's the other thing? All right, now I'm going to do, let me think. Oh, yeah, when he got caught what the files did. Was he and when he was in prison, when he went to prison, um, was he planning to be there for a long time? Did you think he was going to be in there for a long time? Epstein, did you think you were going to be in there for a long time? Years or whatever? Or did you think he was going to be in prison for a long time? No, he didn't think so. I'll read it. Seeking personal closure. He thought it was closure, like he got caught doing things he wasn't, so he thought it would be closed. People would find out, and it would he would have to seek personal closure, shortcuts. There were delays on them finding out the truth about him. There were delays, like they wanted to know things about him, but he had good lawyers to delaying what he was going to tell them. And disclosure passion, high standard. He had high standards of letting people know what he did to keep himself, from keeping himself in prison. So he had high standards. He didn't want people to know what he did wrong. He had high standards. He didn't want people to know what he did wrong because they would look bad at him, and he would lose his money. The devil in reverse. Releasing limits, belief, exploring dark thoughts. He had dark thoughts that people would think bad about him, and he'd lose money, and he would be in the tabloids like he was, and people would think bad of him. He wanted to be in restore control. He wanted to be in control. He's the type of person who wants to be in control of his destiny. Jeffrey Epstein, he didn't want other people to be in his control. Lack of will, like when he was in prison, they tell you what to do, and he didn't like people telling him what to do. He liked to be the one in control, and he had lack of control. When you're in prison, you can't do everything you want. He wasn't used to that. People telling him you have to wake up at a certain time, you have to eat at a certain time. He didn't like that. He didn't have any control over that, and he was isolated. In prison. He couldn't talk to everybody. His fans or the people he liked they would have to come to him. He felt isolated. He couldn't watch the shows he wanted, do the things he wanted to. So he's very, and people gossiped about him, which he didn't like. Gossiping about him being in prison, what he did. So he didn't like that at all. He didn't like being gossiped and isolated. All right. Is it true that he was murdered in prison, or is that just the first I'll ask that. Was he really murdered in prison? Epstein, please tell me. Epstein, were you really murdered in prison, or did you fake your death for some reason? Did you fake your death, Epstein? Look at some cards. I'll do an oracle card. Did you fake your death in prison? Was it a cover-up? Please tell me. Epstein, were you murdered in prison, or did they fake your death? Please tell me. Did you fake your death in prison? It says no, he didn't fake his death, but he had high standards. Like, if he died, he would want people to know the truth on what happened. Eventually, he would want people to find out the truth. And he was a passionate person with his business and his money. But he had limited release, dark thoughts. He had dark thoughts that people would find the truth when he was in prison. He was afraid that people would find out the truth, while he was in prison. And he wanted freedom, his freedom restored. He didn't like to be in prison, like I said, being told what to do or what he could do. And he wanted to be in control. He didn't like other people telling him what to do in prison, the guards and other people. And he liked to party, He didn't like to have the party stop. He liked to have parties of Doge, and like he liked to be. He was the one before he was in prison, liked to be party. He overdosed when he went to parties and had parties at his house. He overdosed. You know, the drinking, the drugging, whatever went on. So he was, and he knew there was people were gossiping, and also he had inner turmoil. When he was in prison, people treated him badly, were abusive to him. They probably knew he was worried because he was worried because people thought he abused children and stuff. I'll look at the next question. And they reached out to get to him. So it said that he was in trouble because he was worried that people would get at him. All right. That's a good question. Was he worried that he would be killed? Epstein. Was he worried when he was in prison that he was going to be knifed or killed there? Like, was he worried that he would be killed there in prison? Was he worried that he was going to be killed in prison? Tell me, please. Were you scared, Epstein, that you were going to be killed in prison? Was he scared? Please tell me. Maybe. He felt betrayed by the people he was with before he went into prison and during the prison because he felt betrayed and defeated. He wanted to win at all costs. He didn't want to end up being in prison for the rest of his life. He thought, people weren't looking out for him. He felt betrayed by the people he was in with the parties and stuff with the girl. There was conflicts. He fought with people like, how dare you expect, say that molesting kids and saying all these things. He said, how dare you do that? And he did risky behavior. He never thought he would get caught or doing something. So he did risky behavior. And he didn't think the truth was going to come out. He thought he wasn't sure the truth was going to come out. And he thought he was a father figure. That's what it says in the card. It says fathery. Like, he thought he was a leader when he was being when he was outside of prison, and he didn't want it to change, so he wanted to be a father figure in the prison. And he was stuck. He had emotional baggage when he was in prison because people knew they thought he molested kids and a bunch of women, so they weren't too happy about that. And they were all unfinished business. He had an unfinished business when he was in prison before he died. And misfortune. He had money problems, life problems. He had a lot of problems, failure. He thought he was a failure being in prison because he was scared that he was going to be killed. Yes, he thought in this one, he did feel like his life was in trouble. He did feel like his life was in trouble. He was in trouble. He thought someone might be coming out to get him. He felt like he was a failure. So yeah, he felt like he was a failure. He did know his life was in trouble. So is it true what he did? I'll ask that. Was it true he molested those kids and stuff? Was it true that he did all this crap? I'll ask, entertainment purposes. Did he really do all these things that people say he did? It says he was a very selfish person. He knew he had some selfishness. He knew he was selfish. And he knew there was conflicts in his life because of what he did and who he was. So he knew that, but he would like to win at all costs. He was a very competitive person. So he was like a narcissistic person. He wanted to win at all costs. So he didn't really care about other people. But he did feel betrayed by the people he was with from being in prison and outside. So he felt betrayed. Conflict. There was conflict because of what he did. And like I said, he did risky behavior, being abusive to the kids. Yeah, he did these things with the kids. He did risky behavior. He was overly indulging with women and men. You know, he liked to party and do weird things with them. So yeah, he liked to do it, and he he knew the truth eventually is going to come out. Eventually, he knew the truth of his behavior was going to come out. And like I said, this isn't the same card that's been coming out. He said he was a father figure, sort of weird thing with his kids. And he had excess baggage. You know, he had a lot of baggage because of what he's been doing, and what he's done with other kids and other. So there's unfinished business. Even though he's dead, there's a lot of unfinished business that's going to come out. Wow, that's interesting. He felt overwhelmed and trapped when he was in prison, but he knows there's unfinished business. So yeah, things are going to come out. What he did, yeah. Is there anything else you want to tell us, Epstein, before I go? You want to tell? Is there anything else you want us to tell us, Epstein, before I go? I'll make another video up to date on Epstein and other things. Please tell me, Epstein, is there anything else you want to tell me before I say goodbye for now? He's going to do some. He felt like he was confessing to people. I think he talked to a minister or priest before he died, or someone, and confessed to what he did. And he was very emotional and detached when he was in prison. He felt like everybody was out to get him. He was detached. He felt like everybody was out to get him in prison. He felt like he probably thought like the world was out to get him. He thought the world was out to get him. Maybe he thought, he was hearing voices or something. He thought, he was detached, and emotional. He was emotional because, being stuck in a cell makes you unemotional. And delays. There were delays for letting him get out of prison, and he wanted to leave. He wanted to get out, but there were delays for him to be in prison. He knew that things were going to come out, and there was changes, and they were actually getting a late start. So he knew things were taking a long time for people to come, the appeals. He wanted an appeal because he knew he did something wrong, even though he didn't want to admit it. He knew that he did that. There were bad timing because, he was stuck in prison. There's not much to do in prison for him because I think he might have been, I'm going to ask, was he in a prison with other people? Closed, deception, empath, depression. Yeah, he was depressed. He was mission and Parliament feeling stuck. He felt stuck because he didn't have a lot of things to do in prison, and he felt like, he didn't have. He was so used to having all the privileges and stuff, and he had opportunities. His faith. So I think he was becoming religious toward the end of his life. So he was becoming more religious, in his life. So yeah, he was become more religious, and he was trying to heal himself. He knew he did a bunch of things wrong, a few things wrong. So yeah, so I might have forgot some things. Like I said, I'll make another video about Jeffrey Epstein. So into my next video about him and other celebrities or other people. Take care and bye.